We are live in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where I'm going to have lunch and then get on a train and go to Pittsburgh and meet a couple people and then go to Chicago for the weekend. So today's theme, yesterday was war and tech. Today is war and commodities. Commodities, yeah. So we'll wait till the chorus is done. So Johnstown's a good place to come up with commodities, because this is a little steel town. Hope you can hear me all right. I know it's a little weird with the lighting and so forth, but Johnstown's a little steel town. It's famous for a couple things. The movie Slapshot was filmed here. The famous flood that happened in the 70s, and then before that in the early 20th century. It's a lot like Pittsburgh. It's like a mini Pittsburgh. And it's weird in that it's like stuck between this two ridges, and that's what made the flood. So about 10 miles upstream, like a dam gave out, and like this 40-foot wall of water came through this town. And Pittsburgh used to flood all the time too. And you need a lot of water to make steel, and you need a lot of coal, and those things are in abundance here. So we're going to talk about commodities today. And there's a lot of problems in the stock market, as we discussed yesterday, because we're going to put a couple $1 trillion into AI hardware, which is all going to burn up in 3 or 4 years. Just digest that for a minute. We're going to invest $3 or $4 trillion over the next couple of years in things that will not exist 4 years later. That's crazy. That's because we're at war. We've been at war for 25 years. I was watching MSNBC because my dad's addicted to MSNBC and the whole war machine is back on MSNBC. I heard the Iranian regime. It's just like Syria. It's just like Iraq. It's just like Afghanistan. It's the same thing. But I'm here to tell you this is the end. I've been saying that for a couple of years now, and it's not true. But we're in the end, and it's the most dangerous part. Trance asked me a question on Substack yesterday. Why do you think ICE leaving Minneapolis is scarier than when they arrived? Because the end of any war is the most dangerous part. So we'll get to commodities in just a minute. Tonight, we're going to do another episode of The Nationalist. Speaking of which, we'll get the song for The Nationalist teed up here, if I can get my shit together. So I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be like on trains and hotel lobbies and shit for the next couple of days. But we have a very, very special episode this evening of The Nationalist, where I will explain to you proof positive who controls the deep state, who controls Trump, who controls Washington, D.C., and who controls the Epstein phenomenon as we've just seen it released. Proof positive. I'm the only guy on the internet that will do this. Without question, by the end of tonight's episode, you will know how the world works. It's frankly not that hard. And it has to do with commodities. So let's start there. Of course, this is not an investment channel, but it does touch on finance and crypto and metaphysics and religion and politics and 80s music and anything else I feel like talking about. So, yeah, it'll be on Substack tonight at, I think 8 will be just right. So let's see how that works. Yeah. I land. Yeah, I think 8 will work. It might be 9. I'll put something up that'll if you want to see it live, because I'll post it. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is if you want to look at something, we spent a lot of time on war and tech yesterday. So this is war and commodities. I think I'm right about this. The United States makes 800 million tons, big number, 800 million tons of steel. China makes 20 billion. Yeah, 10 billion. 10 billion. China makes over 10 times, like 12 times as much steel as the United States. In the last 25 years, let's go back beyond that. Since the end of the Cold War, every time there's a recession, the dollar goes up, commodity prices come down, and interest rates come down. And that's how it self regulates, right? And this is what a lot like you could go out and drink till 1 a.m. when you were 35 and get up and run 6 miles, and you'd self regulate, right? And now when you're 55, if you stay out till 1 o'clock in the thing and you run 6 miles, you may have to go to the hospital because you've worn out your ability to self regulate. That's a pretty good analogy for what's coming to the United States. We're going to shift, as we explained yesterday. Again, let me give you my sources. The Noble Report, like nobles and aristocracy, the Noble Report, and the title was AI, the greatest misallocation of resources in history. So we're going to put $2 or $3 trillion into AI, into server farms, into hardware, into compute, all of which will burn itself up in 4 years. I know, like you're like, that's crazy because we're at war. That's what you do when you're at war. You do crazy things because you're trying to win the war, right? And just understand what this war is. We're at war with the world. Let that sink in. We're going to lose with 100% certainty. And part of that war, part of the target of that war is the United States of America. In fact, that is the most important part. Not Syria, not Iran, not Afghanistan for the opium. The United States is the ultimate prize. They refer to it as Rome. If you followed me for some time, I've gone through, like for a couple months, went through the Bellum Judaicum, and I said, we are Rome. They are here to what happened 2,000 years ago. They're trying to invert the outcome. So this time when we go into recession, we'll go from 3% growth to 3% recession, but the commodities will go up. The commodities will go up. Really? Okay. First of all, this race for compute is just endless, exhaustive um, demand for things like copper and silver. Most people in finance in America have no idea how the world works. Go watch CNBC. You're just going to see all these private equity dicks and all these hedge fund guys. They have no idea how the world works, where beef comes from or where copper comes from and things like that. All they know is how to extract value from things that may or may, like Jersey Mike's. Like that was the big takeover a couple months ago, right? 6 months ago, I think Blackstone or KKR bought Jersey Mike's. Do you know why they bought Jersey Mike's? Because there's nothing else for them to invest in the United States. So the US dollar doesn't have any real trading capacity to compete with things like the electric vehicles from BYD are going to be delivered to Canada. Why aren't they delivered here? Because all of our auto would go instantly bankrupt. So go look at something called PIC on the stock market. It's an ETF. It's 300. It's the 300. Most of the money is in the top 10, but it's the 300, as the name implies, commodities producers. Okay. The top 10 stocks of PIC are only worth $1 trillion. That's, I don't have the number for you, but those top 10 stocks probably produce 70% of everything. Whatever commodity you can think of, steel, iron ore, not steel, it's not a commodity, but iron ore, copper, lithium, silver, on, right? Those stocks are only worth $1 trillion. But the NASDAQ's worth $25 trillion. That's right. So let's say Warren Buffett meets you like from the other world and says, tomorrow, you'll be hired to run Berkshire Hathaway. You have unlimited money. You get to make one trade. You can either buy the entire NASDAQ or all the commodities producers. Just let that sink in for a minute. Well, in 25 years, 80% of the NASDAQ won't exist anymore for the reasons I explained to you yesterday. The big tech is bleeding out. OpenAI, which isn't even a functioning entity, is 40% of Microsoft's revenue going forward. Okay. So we're going to go into a deep recession. We really won't be able to get out of it from the same things that you're used to, which are tax cuts and interest rate cuts, right? For the last 25 years, every time there's a hiccup in the stock market, some white guy gets on TV, stands in front of the podium at the White House and starts passing out money, right? All of them. As I like to say, white people don't think that they have to pay taxes. They look at the $100 trillion in debt. They look at $40 trillion in treasury debt, and they think that they're the victim, especially older white men. There's $40 trillion in debt, and they think somebody did it to them. They've run the United States for the last 70 years, but somehow it's someone else's fault. It's brown people, immigrants, Somali daycare centers build up $40 trillion in debt. Not the wars, Somalis. All right, I'm being sarcastic. The top 10 commodity stocks, which produce everything, are worth $1 trillion. Does that make any fucking sense? Oh. No. So tonight you'll sort of, I'm going to try to flip your idea of finance and tech and commodities upside down. Because in this country, we've always been told that the tech is always going to lead us out of it, right? The NASDAQ, the new super duper internet thingy, the iPhone, Apple, now Google's AI is, as superintelligence says, has got AI by the balls. I'm going to suggest that's over because the next tech is very, very dependent on commodities. Software is not dependent on commodities. All you need is lots of 30-year-olds who went to school and learned how to write Python and Solidity and other things, right? You just need like 10, 20, 50,000 people who know how to make code. Well, that's now been replaced by AI, like Claude, Anthropic, so forth. So now think of it this way. Let me finish just this thought. Think of the war and tech thing like this. We're at the end of the war, so we have to do something we're sort of exhausted financially, spiritually. Like our president's like, where I'm going with this, like unspeakable things, right? We have no allies. No one's coming to help us. If go read Dugan, Alexander Dugan today. If somebody put down an aircraft carrier, the rest of the world would say, fuck them. You know what I mean? 20 years ago, that everybody looked at us after 9/11 and was like, oh my God, what has happened? Go fix this. Now I think they would see. So think of the tech like this. We need all this more and more and more and more compute. And we need so much compute that it's not even like the magic of software, like the magic of tech that just prints money like Microsoft. We now need so much compute, it's like hit a wall up against the commodities. Feeling me? The compute is going to like eat the earth. It's going to take everything it can extract, all the energy, all the copper, all the silver. That thing last Friday was completely constructed. That was a 10 sigma event for silver to fall like that, which means it's probably not real. It's probably a manipulation. And it's not just us, right? And it's not just us versus China. The whole world is going to adopt all this AI, and it's going to use all of these commodities. It's not just us anymore. Again, when America used to go into a recession, the dollar would go up, price of commodities would come down, and interest rates would come down. We're now going to move into a recession where all three of those things are reversed. I'll see it tonight. We're going to do the nationalist. Let's see if we can see if there's any quick questions. If it's not at 8 o'clock tonight, it'll be at 9. And this is the theme song for the nationalist. Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. This is David Bowie's song. It's called, well, I won't give it away. Oh, fuck. See you tonight. It's called I'm Afraid of Americans. Have a